Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, I'm going to do a quick rundown of all the fallout from yesterday. Yesterday was Cutdown Day in the NFL. All the teams had to get their rosters down. There was all sorts of moves that impacted things in the fantasy world for sure. So I wanted to do a quick rundown of the most important aspects of Cutdown Day yesterday to let you know before your upcoming drafts. And if you want to get in any drafts here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, go to RTSports.com, click on that Money League link. You can see everything we have to offer. Remember, we have our great TFC, the Fantasy Championship, $500,000 grand prize for that one. You'll want to get in that one before it sells out. Sign up for a draft sooner than later and get a chance to win $500,000. All right, let's talk about this Cutdown Day now. The first bit of news, which I thought was very important, was the 49ers put Elijah Mitchell on injured reserve because of a hamstring injury. This guy just can't stay healthy. But that means Jordan Mason is going to be the number 2 back for the 49ers. And that's huge news because Christian McCaffrey, we know he has a bit of an injury history, stayed healthy last year, which was great to see, but he's already battling injury in camp this year. So Jordan Mason, the number 2 back, his stock should be going way up. If you own McCaffrey, I think Mason's a must add to your team. If you already done your draft, if you're doing your draft in the coming days, I would make sure you handcuff Mason to McCaffrey in the mid round. So his stock's going way up, Jordan Mason. Another big bit of news was another player put on injured reserve, and that was A.J. Dillon in Green Bay. I mean, the Green Bay backfield's a mess right now. Marshawn Lloyd's the number 2 back. He's also been battling a hamstring injury in camp, though. A.J. Dillon, he's on injured reserve because of some sort of neck injury. But Josh Jacobs could get a huge workload early in the year because of these issues at running back for Green Bay. I like him a lot. I think I like him more than most fantasy so-called experts, but I think Jacobs is set up for big things, especially early in the season. He's going to get a big workload. Let's talk about some players who were put on the PUP list. So this means that they are going to miss at least the first 4 games of the season. I think most of them were expected, but these are moves that were made, and now we know, so we can plan accordingly. But Nick Chubb, he's going to open the season on the PUP list. That means he's going to miss at least the first 4 games. He had that gruesome knee injury. He's making good progress, though, and he could be back sooner than later. But for now, he's on the sidelines. Jerome Ford's going to start for the Browns early in the year, and I like his value in a starting role personally. Another back on the PUP list is going to be Jonathan Brooks. He's recovering from a torn ACL. Again, this was kind of expected, but it's official now. I think Brooks was kind of making a case to not be put on that list, but he is. And that means Chuba Hubbard is going to be the starter early in the season. Again, I think he has good value early in the year, and I think he's a little undervalued right now. Personally, I think that Panthers offense is going to be better this season, and Hubbard's going to start early in the year. The last player who is going to start the year on the PUP list is TJ Hackinson, at least the last player of note in my view. Again, another player we kind of expected this to happen, but there was reports that Hackinson was making great progress from his torn ACL, and there was a chance he could open the season healthy, but that's not the case. He's going to start the year on the PUP list, and he will not be available to fantasy teams at least the first 4 games of the season. Another bit of news that wasn't really had anything to do with cuts, but I thought it was kind of interesting, and that's the Rams naming Kiron Williams the punt returner. So Kiron Williams is the number 1 back for the Rams. At least that's what we think. He had a great season last year, kind of a breakout year. But Sean McVay, he likes to rotate those backs in a hurry. You never know what he's going to do. And Kiron Williams is going to be returning punts now. That's a little bit of a red flag to me. You don't normally want to put your number 1 back on punt returns because they can take some punishment back there. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. Maybe Blake Corum is going to have a bigger role than we first thought, the rookie for the Rams. But Kiron Williams is going to be returning punts. A little bit concerning for me. I don't know if I can feel too comfortable taking him early in the second round at this point. All right, a couple receivers that were cut that I thought we should let everybody know about. And the first one's Tim Patrick with Denver. He looked to be having a pretty good training camp in preseason, making some plays. I thought he had a chance to open the season as a starter, but they're going younger. They're letting Patrick go. They're going with those younger options in their passing game. I think Patrick should be able to find work as a depth piece for some team who's looking for a veteran receiver, but Patrick is released in Denver. A little bit of a surprise. I think that really impacts his fantasy value going forward because he's going to have a hard time playing a big role on another team. Another receiver that was cut, who's probably more talented, but he's been a lot erratic throughout his career, and that's Cadarius Tony. The Chiefs finally cut ties with him. He's been all over the map, shown great things at times, but also been a mess. Big drops, you name it, fumbles. He's had some issues. Certainly a super talented player. I'm sure he'll find work again, but Tony's going to have to work his way up. I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall when they signed Juju Smith-Schuster a few days back. So I think Smith-Schuster's replacing Tony there on the roster. And Tony's gone to Kansas City, so that experiment is over. Last bit of news I want to get to, and that's kicker news. Everybody loves kicker news, but we have a couple guys that we were unsure of who's going to start in certain situations, but we know now in Green Bay, they're going to go with Greg Joseph. They let go Anders Carlson and Alex Hale. That was a three-man race for the job. Carlson was a draft pick last year for Green Bay, so you thought he had a pretty good chance to win that job, but he just wasn't very good with his chances, made just 82% of his field goals last year, missed some extra points as well. So they're going with the veteran, Greg Joseph in Green Bay, and I like his value in that offense personally, and he could be a solid low-end number one kicker. Another move is another young kicker that was released. Second-year kicker Chad Ryland was released for New England. They're going to go with Joey Slides, their kicker. He beat out Ryland for the job. Ryland, he was much worse than Carlson. Ryland was a disaster last year, quite frankly, for New England. Hasn't been able to keep that job. Wasn't able to hold off Sly for the job this year in New England. New England's offense is not very exciting, so I'm not sure I like Sly much from a fantasy perspective. All right, that's all my news and notes from the Cutdown Day Fallout of yesterday. Good luck to all of you in your upcoming drafts. I know there are a ton going off this weekend and early next week as well. So get drafting. Don't be afraid to use my free draft guide here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. It's at freedraftguide.com. There's also a link for that at the top of all the home pages on RealTime Fantasy Sports. All great sorts of great info in there, rankings, projections, stories, team previews, you name it. It's all on there, and it's free. And we have an app as well. Go to Free Draft Guide on your apps in your app stores, and you can download that as well if you want to take a look at it there. And again, don't forget to sign up for a league here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Go to RTSports.com. Go in that draft lobby, see everything we have to offer on there, and get in a league. All right, good luck to all of you in your upcoming drafts, and I hope you have a great day. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports.